What's going on everybody, DiGi Valentine here right about now. Welcome to Like Dislike, where I highlight the things I like and dislike about a video game before providing my final overall verdict. On today's episode, Devil May Cry 5. Before I get into it, I want to send a very big shout out to Biggie B for backing me on Patreon. Your support is greatly appreciated, fam. Thank you so much. And if you're liking the content I'm putting out, please consider checking out my Patreon too. Links are in the description below. Safe. Alright, so Devil May Cry 5 came out back in March of 2019. As far as stylish action games go, the original Devil May Cry on the PS2 was my first real jump into this subgenre. It set one hell of a bar to beat because if we're talking in terms of gameplay, I felt like an absolute boss man when I played that thing. And I was rubbish at it too, yeah? That's when you know a video game has won my respect. Get me to play a game that I'm terrible at, but I come away from it feeling like I just kicked the world up its blue and green arse. Sadly, I didn't continue following the series after Devil May Cry 1, and I'm not even sure why. Yeah, I should have absolutely copped Devil May Cry 3 at least, and yeah, I didn't. Strange boy. Capcom were about to grab my attention again though when they officially announced Devil May Cry 5 at E3 2018. I think the series being dormant for a while and then receiving the hype it did upon its announcement got me to sit up and take notice once more. Devil May Cry 5 follows the series protagonists Dante and Nero as they team up with a new ally named V to stop a demon king from destroying the human world. Let's talk about the things I like. Being a London boy, I think the thing that made me sit up and pay attention the most was the fact that Devil May Cry 5's fictional location, Redgrave City, is clearly inspired by my hometown. Yeah, like these are literally my ends, fam. I kept half expecting to see Nero run past one of my old graffiti tags near Tower Bridge. London is a fantastic city and I love this place with all my heart, yet it's not the sort of location you expect to see very often in a video game, so whenever it does pop up, I'm suddenly awake and paying attention. Devil May Cry 5 might not contain a direct one-to-one copy of what London looks like in terms of layout, but the unique aesthetic that London has is clearly present in this game. Phone boxes, the road markings, pavements and street lights, all of it is undeniably British and I love it so much. The design is so faithful to its source material, I couldn't help but smile as I ran around. I mean, I spent ages just looking at stuff, yeah? Forget the bloody demons, I went sightseeing. Capcom did a lovely job at showing my city some love, even if they technically destroyed it, but whatever. This is probably what Brexit's gonna look like, innit? Nice. I like the way each character plays in this game, which is surprising because when they showed off gameplay for V, I seriously expected to have problems with him in particular. When it comes to action spectacle games, I prefer to grab a sick looking sword and run in like a maniac, so to see them make a weak, reserved character who hangs out in the back row and attacks from a distance felt like it was going to be a jarring experience. I couldn't have been more incorrect, yeah? V totally won me over pretty quickly. His playstyle does change the way you approach combat in comparison to Dante and Nero, but it never felt like there were any handicaps or hiccups. If anything, once I got V's gameplay down, I was having the most fun with him. Crouching at the back of an arena and reading poetry while my demon boys are up front shanking fools is a thrilling experience, trust me, and his alt colour is delicious. Nero plays like Mortal Kombat Scorpion, constantly grabbing enemies and dragging them towards him, leading to some really awesome looking combos. And while we're talking about combos, no other character comes equipped for insane combo strings than Dante himself. The guy has God mode activated by default, I swear. Every weapon you get comes with multiple stances or features that links to different moves you can perform, and then you unlock more parts of a combo, and then you realize you can switch between weapons in real time, which in turn means you're now linking combos into combos between weapons, and damn bruv, it gets mental if you know what you're doing. And I didn't even know what I was doing, I was just out there mashing buttons until things happened, and I felt like a boss doing it. If I can get this much joy on a complete novice level, can you imagine what crazy shit the pros are cooking up with access to utilities like this? Good lord.
You look like you just had your ass handed to you.
The cutscenes are honestly amazing. I love how animated the character faces are. Every slight smirk or eye squint is incredibly visible. Expressions are clear and wonderfully presented. This is some top tier animation work for real. A lot of effort went into making these cutscenes look gorgeous, and it's not just the presentation of the cutscenes that got me grinning either. The characters themselves are just a pleasure to watch. The banter between them is super entertaining. Each character has a very distinct personality, and when those personalities interact, you're going to get some great dialogue. Over the top dialogue, but great dialogue nevertheless. Couple together these lines of dialogue with such fluid animation and you've got a treat waiting for you every time a cutscene does start up. I could have watched another 20 hours of these characters just shooting the shit, I'm serious.
Ooh-wee. I'm gonna make something amazing out of this.
Did you just sniff that? Do you have any idea where that's been?
Up your butt?
Little details within the game were another thing that I really appreciated a lot. Sometimes it's the little things that make the bigger things feel truly alive. For example, Nico's van. Genius weapons inventor, teammate to Nero, and all-around rude girl, Nico is one of the standout characters from the game. To complement her expressive personality, Capcom decided to fill Nico's van with tiny little things that further built upon her portrait. Things from certain bumper stickers to random items strewn all over the table. All these little things tell you more about her personality and who she is, and I love this attention to detail. They really cared about this character enough to flesh her out further via little details that didn't even need to be there. Speaking of going that extra mile in terms of detail, and also bringing us back to Nico again, during the game when you come across a phone box, you can call Nico to come and meet you, providing you with a chance to upgrade weapons or buy items. In any other game, this would probably just be a change of HUD or accessing a new menu screen, but Capcom were like, nah, let's do something nuts instead, yeah? Let's make it so that when you call her, you're treated to a cutscene of Nico arriving in her van in the most over-the-top fashion imaginable. And let's make the cutscenes unique across all the different phone boxes in the game. Let there be a different cutscene of Nico arriving at these different locations. They didn't need to do this, yeah? They didn't need to go this extra mile, but the fact that they did, and the fact that builds upon Nico's absolute balls to the wall gung-ho attitude, is just another little touch that gives this game its overall charm. Sometimes it's the inclusion of the little things that give the bigger things a fuller, fleshed out presentation. I'd also like to big up the soundtrack. The Devil Trigger song was pretty much my fight music for the whole game. You get to select what song plays when you engage in combat, and I'm sure there's plenty of nostalgic tunes in there for veteran DMC fans to enjoy, but since that stuff was wasted on me and since Devil Trigger is such a bloody anthem, I just set it to play anytime I needed to murk somebody. The rest of the soundtrack actually surprised me, to be honest with you. Looking at the Devil May Cry series on the surface, I was half expecting every track to be a barrage of rock or metal to match the visual themes, so when I went into Nico's awesome van and accessed some of the menus, I was pleasantly surprised to hear some chilled out tracks. Like, there's R&B in here, fam. We're talking about my kind of thing now, and it works so beautifully. When you're out on road fighting demons, sure, get some music on that hypes you up. But what about when you're just lounging around in the van? It's time to dial it back and wind it down, and the menu music really expresses this concept. Like, listen to me, yeah? There's a slow jam remix of Devil Trigger in Nico's van, right? Devil Trigger, yeah? The song that is designed to get you into the mood of cutting a demon's head off has a slow jam remix. Slow jam, bruv. The R&B kid in me was gleeing like a moron when I heard it. I couldn't believe we had R&B music in a bloody Devil May Cry game. There's also this other tune that plays inside Nico's van that drops such a nasty bass line. When I first heard it, I actually stopped navigating the menu just to listen to it. It put such a smile on my face. Man started flexing in his chair and everything. I honestly didn't expect to hear my sort of music in a game that's main thematic focus is the end of the world and hell demons biting your face off. It totally surprised me and I really appreciated it. Now let's talk about the things that I didn't like. Firstly, why can't you play as the female characters? Like, seriously, you've got both Trish and Lady featured in this game's story. Two girls who are combat-based characters as well, I might add. How come they're not playable? They're not even selectable in the Bloody Palace survival mode. I'm pretty sure Trish and Lady could have had a character slot in that at least, but even then, if I'm being honest with you, I would have preferred to have had a few missions with them in the main story mode. They were present throughout the storyline, they could have given us something to do with them. I mean, Lady just literally sat in the van for most of it. Lady, the rocket launching badass, sat in a van. Let her get out there and lick off some shots, man, bloody hell. Maybe there might be DLC down the line to play as them in the Bloody Palace, that would be nice at least, but we'll see. If not though, I definitely want them selectable for Devil May Cry 6. Another thing I was a little displeased about was that despite the game featuring a location heavily inspired by my hometown of London, it kinda annoyed me that this location was abandoned halfway through the game as the party travelled further into the underworld. I mean, from a story perspective, I get it. You're progressing through the story, naturally your location is going to change. You can't run the same streets of London for the duration of the whole game, otherwise it's going to get boring. But Capcom weren't even making Redgrave City boring. As you played through the stages, different areas of London's architecture began to appear, from things like the bridges on the River Thames to something as unexpected as seeing Borough Market of all things. There were plenty of areas left to show as well, and there were some really breathtaking locations explored early on in the game, but by the halfway point the party are now in the underworld and it becomes nothing but squelching blood-soaked corridors which got mundane very quickly. There was nothing interesting to look at anymore until the end game. I kinda wish we could have spent more time running around Redgrave City, especially since I appreciated the love Capcom were giving to London. They were doing such a faithful job with it, and it feels like they ducked out from it a little bit too early. The online co-op feature was a nice addition to the game, but it hardly ever occurred. There's a few key points during the game where you will bump into another person playing as one of the other selectable characters, and you team up for a while to progress through that level together until it branches off back into a solo single player mode again. In my opinion, I think this was Capcom testing the waters on the idea in general. Perhaps they only dropped this feature in at certain points to see how people would take to it, but there might be plans to develop it into a fuller experience for Devil May Cry 6. That would be pretty sick. But as it is for Devil May Cry 5, the feature felt like a neat addition that wasn't utilised enough. The camera caused me a few problems. While I was hacking and slashing away, it sometimes spun around getting obstructed by some random obstacle or enemy. It didn't always happen, and it wasn't a constant problem that occurred throughout gameplay, but when it did occur, nothing broke my investment in a sick battle more than having to deal with a camera and move it manually just to get a better look at what I was doing. This also coupled together with some issues I had with targeting enemies, because if the camera was at a weird angle, I sometimes ended up selecting the wrong enemy. This brought a few awesome battles to a grinding halt as I had to wrestle the camera back into a suitable position and then re-lock onto the enemy I wanted to hit. As I said, it wasn't a major issue because it didn't happen too frequently, and it certainly didn't ruin the game for me either, but it was a little irritating to deal with when it did happen. And one last thing I didn't like, yeah? Censoring of the butts. Don't censor the butts, okay? I'm serious, I'm very serious about this. You keep those butts visible, you hear me? If I see one more conveniently placed lens flare on any character's arse during Devil May Cry 6, I'm going to take a photograph of my own arse and send it to Capcom. Yeah, don't go to war with me, bruv, I will get wicked with this shit, you understand? But anyway, final overall verdict. Do the likes outweigh the dislikes? Of course they outweigh the dislikes. I came away from this game buzzing. I wanted to jump back in and play some more. I haven't played a stylish action game this fun since Bayonetta. Then again, as I said, I don't play too many of these games, and that's honestly my own fault. Maybe I should pick them up more often. I mean, I clearly enjoy them. I don't know what's wrong with me, idiot. But as far as Devil May Cry 5 itself goes, it definitely reawakened my love for this series in particular, and I'm invested for any future titles they'll bring out now. Devil May Cry 5 is incredibly fun and gets a good feeling out of me when I'm cutting my way through the hordes of hell. It contains such a wonderful bunch of characters who I can't wait to see again thanks to how expressive they were in this game, and if anything else, Capcom done my city proud by its choice in location. The London ends never looked so beautiful. Even if they literally sent the whole city to hell, but whatever. Devil May Cry 5 gets a sick 9 out of 10 from me. Play this game and get wicked with it. Before I duck out, I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and please subscribe if you're new around these ends. Once again, big shout outs to my supporters backing me on Patreon right about now, like Biggie B. These people are funding everything I'm doing, so big ups to them. And if you want to join in, then please check the links to my Patreon in the video description. All support is greatly appreciated. Right now, I'm gathering funds to buy a 4TB SSD for this computer, since my work involves collecting a lot of video files, and you know how heavy duty those video files start to get sometimes. So the money is going to a very good good cause, trust me. And lastly, if you want to catch me elsewhere online, then I'm over on Twitter and Instagram doing my ting. Links to those are in the video description too. I've been DiGi Valentine, thanks for your time, take care, and I'll see you all again real soon. And yo, if they don't know about me, let them know, yeah? Safe.